Members of the minority.
Oh,
Mr.
Mr.
Speaker,
Speaker, we join the minority in their motion to terminate the period of the parliamentary legislature. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Kanya na ba
Joint
ang
motion to
nangyayari ngayon
terminate
dito sa
interpolation
atin?
to the proposed budget of the Department
No.
of Health. Is there any objection? The
Mr.
chair
Speaker,
hears
have a
none.
motion ruling,
Let me
please.
question the
Interpolations on the proposed budget of the Department of Health is hereby
Let me
terminated.
question the forum, Mr.
Mr.
Speaker.
Speaker.
Suspended.
Mr. Speaker,
Pasabog na balita. Agri-Party List Representative Wilbert Lee pinigilang makapagsalita. Pangungurakot ng ahensya ng Department of Health isisiwalat na ni Wilbert Lee. Pero bago ang lahat, maaari kayong mag-subscribe para maging updated sa mga issue at bagong mga balita. Ito na nga, Agri-Party List Representative Wilbert Lee pinigilang makapagsalita ng iba pang mambabatas upang hindi maisiwalat ang kabulastugang gawain ng Department of Health. Matapos itong hindi masagot ni BHW Representative Angelica Co ang mga tanong patungkol sa kung saan napunta ang bilyon-bilyong pondo para sa nasabing departamento, na kung saan ay para umano sa mga benepisyong matatanggap ng mga health workers at mga libreng gamot sa mga hospital na hindi naman raw tinupad ng ahensya. Janet Garin, umiksena na naman at parang takot na takot sa kung anong pwedeng isiwalat ni Wilbert Lee. Narito ang buong detalye.
First of all, please allow me to thank the Secretary and the officials of DOH that despite the many complicated issues and criticisms of many members of the House, they still cooperate with us and in fact have complied with many of the requests of the members, both in the minority and majority. And I have a favorite saying, Mr. Speaker, give credit where credit is due, and I congratulate DOH, Secretary Bosa, and the officials for issuing the no balance billing department memorandum clarifying no copay, no balance billing under the Universal Healthcare Act and other relevant laws. So I thank the sponsor, these sponsors, Congresswoman Ko, Congresswoman Quimbo, Congresswoman Garin, for following up on this very important universal healthcare policy. So thank you so much. And the short question, in line with that, because the DOH has already essentially clarified that poor patients in charity beds or ward beds in government hospitals should have no copay and they should not have out-of-pocket. May I ask the sponsor, DOH and PhilHealth, because it's now policy and because DILG has a seal of good local governance, one of their matrix is health. May I request or get a comment from PhilHealth and DOH that maybe our advocacy of helping poor patients, no copay, no out-of-pocket, which was clarified by this memorandum, shouldn't this be now at least discussed with DILG, with PhilHealth and DOH, to be considered in that seal of good local governance as
Yes.
part of the health matrix for our LGUs?
Yes, that's an excellent idea, Mr. Speaker, our dear colleague. The PhilHealth and the DOH agrees.
Okay, thank you. I'm satisfied just as long as the sponsor follows up with PhilHealth DOH. I think there will be substantial improvement in terms of helping our poor patients. Second, in the budget hearing, there were many doctors complaining about when the doctors get accredited by PhilHealth, they were before required to pay 3 years advance membership fee, sometimes 1 year membership fee advance, they clarified to me that there's now a circular saying that when doctors get accredited, they can now just pay 1 month membership fee, just like all other PhilHealth members. Is that correct, Mr. Speaker?
That's correct, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And I thank PhilHealth for helping our doctors on this particular issue because there were many doctors who were complaining. The other one is, in the accreditation process, doctors are accredited by PhilHealth, but actually these doctors are also accredited by the hospital. So well, there's a potential streamlining to make it, we have an ARTA law, we're supposed to be implementing streamlining processes, ease of doing business. So my okay, Mr. Speaker, may I move to spend just a few minutes?
Mr. Speaker, with the due indulgence of our distinguished Senior Deputy Minority Leader, I believe we're running out of time, and may we request him to proceed with his interpellation.
Deputy Minority Leader.
Few minutes suspension, Mr. Speaker.
Session suspended. Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Hello. Mr. Speaker, I now move that we again recognize the Honorable Paul Daza.
Congressman Daza, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good evening again. As I was saying, doctors are complaining about the red tape in terms of PhilHealth accreditation. I thank again the sponsors for encouraging dialogue with PhilHealth, and we did that. No less than the Secretary of DOH supports streamlining. He's also an anti-red tape person. So I wanted to ask the sponsor, because doctors are already PRC licensed, they have certification from their specialties, they get accredited by the hospitals. So may I request from the sponsor a response or a commitment on how PhilHealth can streamline the accreditation process for doctors?
Mr. Speaker, the accreditation process for professionals is already on the way or into streamlining. So there will okay. So yes, it's in the process of streamlining already.
Thank you so much to my esteemed colleague, the Honorable Ko, for that assurance. I think all our doctors in this country will be very happy with that development. And on the issue on utilization of PhilHealth funds, there was some discussion about increasing case rates of instead 30% but 50% to increase utilization for the poor patients in the wards. What we call, as clarified in the memorandum issued by Secretary Herbosa, why not increase case rates for poor patients so there will be now more funds for all hospitals for medicines, X-ray, and other ancillary services? Because I was told there were already discussions before at the PhilHealth level to do that. May we get a response from the sponsor on the possibility of increasing case rates to increase utilization, specifically for the poor patients who are eligible under the Universal Healthcare Law on no copay, no balance billing, no out-of-pocket?
Mr. Speaker, the increase in the case rates will include the level 1 infirmaries. So, which also includes the benefits of PhilHealth, more or less po across the board.
Okay. Baby steps, that would be an improvement already. But if the PhilHealth will consider that previous proposal about maybe prioritize the increase of case rates for the NBB patients, for the poor patients in the ward beds. Because there were already discussions in the past regarding that, and I was wondering if that's still on the table and if that's
Yes.
something PhilHealth can include in their agenda.
Yes.
But thank you for the response earlier. I think that's already a big improvement. But this is specifically for the poor patients, as I mentioned earlier.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. But yes, the answer to that, to your query is included.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I'd like to commend the sponsors for your patience. I know sometimes the debates, the exchanges get heated, and we appreciate your understanding and patience with the members of the minority, because I know sometimes we all get emotional. And I appreciate what the Vice Chair and the Chairman have done to make sure our concerns and issues are addressed. Thank you so much to our Vice Chairs and to the other sponsors, Mr. Speaker. Again, I'd like to thank the Department of Health officials who spent essentially 2 days with us. Thank you so much for addressing many, if not
okay.
most, of our concerns.
Okay.
And Mr. Speaker, having no more members of the minority.
No. Mr.
Mr.
Speaker,
Speaker, we join the minority in their motion to terminate the period of
Madam
debate.
Spencer.
So move, Mr. Speaker.
Kanya na ba
Joint
ang
motion to
nangyayari
terminate
ngayon
the
dito sa
interpolation
atin?
of the proposed budget of the Department
No.
of Health. Is there any
Madam-
objection? The
Mr.
chair
Sir, I
hears
have a
none.
motion ruling,
Let me
please.
question the
Interpolations on
quorum.
the proposed budget of the Department of Health is hereby
Let me
terminated.
question the quorum, Mr.
Mr.
Speaker.
Speaker.
Session suspended.
Mr. Speaker. Tuloy na.
Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we recognize the Honorable Minority Leader, the Honorable Nonoy Libanan, for his turno en contra.
The Honorable Minority Leader is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move for a few minutes suspension.
Session is suspended. Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to reiterate my motion to recognize the Honorable Minority Leader, the Honorable Nonoy Libanan, for his turno en contra.
The Honorable Minority Leader Lebanon is recognized to deliver his speech in contra.
Mr. Speaker, my esteemed colleagues, I stand before you today to express some of our concerns regarding House Bill number 10800 or the 2025 General Appropriations Bill that proposes a budget of 6.5 1.352 trillion pesos for the national expenditure. While the administration has reported notable progress in economic growth, poverty reduction, and fiscal management, allocation of funds, and the missed opportunities for transformative infrastructure development that could define the future of our nation. Mr. Speaker, despite these challenges, we finished the deliberation of the budget for the fiscal year 2025 in a record number of session days of 8 days, showing quick and effective decision-making. May I laud the members of the minority for their exhaustive interpellation of the agencies and also for the patience of the majority in defending the budget proposals. In scrutinizing the budget of each government agency, we are fulfilling our mandate under the Constitution by ensuring the proper spending of our people's money. However, these are the concerns of the minority. Mr. Speaker, despite promising economic indicators, the proposed 2025 budget includes significant cuts to crucial departments. The Department of Transportation is set to receive 15.7% less funding, a decision that is alarming given the role of transportation infrastructure in driving economic growth and regional connectivity. Such a drastic reduction will severely limit our capacity to maintain and expand essential infrastructure projects, thereby undermining our long-term development goals. Even more troubling is the reduction in the budget for the Department of Migrant Workers. Our overseas Filipino workers contribute billions of pesos in remittances annually, playing a crucial role in stabilizing our economy. Reducing support for migrant worker programs undermines our commitment to their welfare and threatens a vital source of economic stability. We must ask ourselves, how can we justify deprioritizing sectors that are essential to the economic and social well-being of millions of Filipinos? Mr. Speaker, may we point out the perennial issue on the contractual employees in the government. It has been a center issue in the scrutiny of personnel services budget among agencies. Take, for example, the situation in the Department of Social Welfare and Development, where 53.4% of its staff were contractual employees, and that some of them have been in the status for 15 years. For this reason, this representation has in fact initiated the filing of House Bill number 7410, aiming to regularize 4-piece municipal, provincial, and regional link employees. I hope this sets in motion the regularization of long-time contractual employees in government. Mr. Speaker, equally concerning is the issue on transparency, particularly regarding the budget of the Office of the Vice President. Vice President Sara Duterte has refused to defend her proposed budget, 2.037 billion budget before the House Appropriations Committee and in the House plenary. This refusal to engage in the budget interpellation process is troubling, especially given the importance of transparency and accountability in public spending. Mr. Speaker, the Vice President's refusal to address questions on the matter leaves many unanswered concerns about the appropriate use of public resources. As Representative Stella Quimbo rightly pointed out, the General Appropriations Act is arguably the most important piece of legislation every year, and the refusal to justify this budget undermines both the public trust and the legislative process. How can we expect the Filipino people to trust our government if we cannot even ensure transparency in the highest levels? Mr. Speaker, another critical issue in the budget is the missed opportunity to invest in transformative infrastructure projects like the Luzon-Visayas Bridge. In 2019, the National Economic and Development Authority conducted the so-called feasibility study for the Sorsogon-Samar-Matnog-Alin Link Bridge, estimating a cost of over 300 billion pesos. Two options were presented: a 24-kilometer bridge consisting of 3 long-span sections at estimated cost of 284 billion, and a 257 billion underwater tunnel, which would take 9 years to complete. These projects could bridge the gap between the Luzon and Visayas, greatly enhancing national unity and economic integration. By reducing the reliance on ferry services and cutting travel times, the Luzon-Visayas Bridge would boost tourism, facilitate the movement of goods, and create jobs, paying for itself through increased economic activity. Mr. Speaker, countries like Bangladesh with its Padma Bridge and Norway with its exploration of submerged tunnels have proven that bold investments in infrastructure can be game changers. Why then is the Luzon-Visayas Bridge not part of our national priorities for 2025? Mr. Speaker, the administration's attention to the rehabilitation of the Maharlika Highway is commendable, yet it remains a small part of the broader infrastructure puzzle. The national government has allocated 8 billion this year for the repair and widening of a deteriorated 395.52 kilometer segment in eastern Visayas. Mr. Speaker, this allocation is just a fraction of the estimated 29.73 billion pesos needed to complete rehabilitation of this vital network of roads, bridges, and ferry services that connect Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. himself announced an additional 1.4 billion for the project during his visit to Calbayog City in Samar, emphasizing the importance of maintaining this key infrastructure. While this rehabilitation is necessary, we must ask ourselves if it is enough. The Maharlika Highway, though vital, is only one part of our national infrastructure network. Mr. Speaker, the budget for 2025 presents conflicting priorities. On one hand, we see increases in funding for education and healthcare, both necessary investments. But on the other hand, critical infrastructure projects and migrant worker programs face severe cuts. While education will receive 977.6 billion pesos and healthcare will get 297.6 billion.